You talked about, measuring, and obviously the next thing is once you're measuring is to take action on that. Now, I know Planet Mark, you work with lots of businesses of all sizes across multiple different industries. What are the parts of your members' ESG and climate change strategies that you see are the most successful?
The ones that are most successful, I would say, are the ones where there's top management involvement in that strategy. So a top-down approach to empower staff to show that that company is taking it really seriously. Taking a view of this is a long-term investment decision and not a short-term reactive decision. For example, there are companies we work with that don't own the premises that they work in and have made long-term investment decisions to install solar PV on their roofs, right? Which for some of them is a significant investment, but we see a 10 to 11 year payback on it, and they're prepared to make that investment because they see the benefits, and they unlock further benefits by talking about that, right? Because that resonates with, again, those external stakeholders that I talked about, to show that they're walking the talk. So that would be, those are some of the most successful ones.
And interesting, you mentioned about the top management commitment. I think that's certainly really significant. And I was interested to see recently, in the last couple of weeks, that the Institute of Directors has published its updated guidance. This is pan-European guidance for directors of unlisted companies and how the board should operate. And the biggest change in it is a much greater focus given on ESG, climate change, and social issues. So it's interesting. It's coming in not just for listed companies and for, but this is in terms of guidance for all types of companies of all sizes.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that change thing is a really key word, right? Because the rate of change that we're seeing in today's society and business world is faster than it ever has been before. So, and when you sprinkle in ESG into the mix, it's not whether a company should be changing, it's how, and understanding what they need to be doing can be really challenging, especially if you are an SME, which is why companies come to organizations like the Planet Mark to help with understanding what they need to be doing.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things that Planet Mark does help with, obviously, as I know, is around reporting. And we see reporting on climate change, becoming increasingly important, or on carbon emissions becoming increasingly important, as well as wider ESG parameters. And yet it's an extraordinarily complex area with so many different frameworks, so many different regulations and guidance. How do you see businesses addressing this?
You're right. There are an awful lot of frameworks and reporting out there, and there will be some consistency and some clarity on that in the coming years as some of those frameworks turn from voluntary to compulsory as they get translated into legislation. In the US, it's probably going to be kind of the SASB-led frameworks from ESG disclosure reporting, and in the UK and Europe, where I think TCFD is going to come to the forefront and win out as a climate-specific disclosure framework, which is great. But then you have a whole bunch of other ones. You've got what I call the old schoolers one of the UN Global Compact and the GRI with many signatories that have been going for many years. And with the newer ones, like I just touched on, SASB and TCFD, and then in the real estate sector, you've got GRESB, which is also a really great disclosure framework. And then you've got the Sustainable Development Goals that were born out of the UN Global Compact. And I love them because they're really clear. When the UN first published them, they were a little bit dry, so to speak, and they were then redesigned by a famous English director whose name has escaped me right now. And they're a really visual, I think, positive thing to make it really clear, to help with that almost simplification of the issues. There are many indicators that sit behind the 17 goals, but I think simplifying things as much as we possibly can will make it as easy as possible for these companies to start adopting really strong sustainability credentials and understanding what they need to be doing to solve some of these massive challenges that we're facing as a global society.